So we're recording. Let everybody know. You can often see that at the top there as well. So welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Sorry that we're running a few minutes late, but I'm quite sure tonight we'll be able to catch that up. So as we said, tonight we're talking about digital technology in teaching, and it is a very interesting and poignant time in history to be talking about this, because as I'm sure many of you have heard on the news and around, a lot of educational institutions are beginning to really grapple with what are we going to do between the travel bans and protecting people and safety and stuff. A lot of organisations, hi Sarah, welcome to the meeting, looking at and thinking about how can I online learning. Exactly, it is a thing. And in fact, if you're on LinkedIn, you'll see there's a lot of posts on there just in the last even week or so, people saying, hi, do you want to take your learning online? Call me now, I can help you do that. And by the way, if you are on LinkedIn, I'm very happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. Search for my name. It's pretty unique. Good thing about having a good, unique last name. You'll find me, send me an invitation. I'm happy to connect, or send me an email and I'll find you. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, I'd encourage you to strongly think about making one as a professional profile. It's great for networking. It's good for work, as far as getting to know colleagues and things like that. And it's also really good as professional development, in that you can find lots of different groups that will be about professional development and learning and development and training and teaching and stuff. But also, excuse me, but also you can find groups that feature or factor around your vocational area. So there are lots of groups that talk about WHS or different types of trades or project management or lots of stuff. In addition to that, I've started my own little group, and I say little because I'm the only one in it at the moment, but I've just begun sharing to that group points and things that I find of interest. And, you know, if you want to connect and you want to be part of that group, I'm happy to link you in. So, link you in with LinkedIn. So, have a think about it. If you want to have a chat one-on-one offline about LinkedIn and the benefit of it, I'm happy to do that as well. And I don't get any kickback for getting you to join LinkedIn. So there's no hidden agenda there. It's just a professional site that I find of value myself. All right, well, tonight's session, content-wise, should be a lot more relaxed than last week's session, which was a bit heavy, talking about assessments and units of competency and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to go through our agenda as per normal, look at where we should be up to, have some content stuff, talk about what's next, and then have some time for Q&A, which, you know, can be recorded or may be taken off the recording and just a bit of a chit-chat, which is always a good thing. So our progress points. Today is the census date, so thank you for being here. It's really is important, and it means a lot to me and to TAFE New South Wales for your ongoing commitment to staying in the program. We really appreciate it. A couple of things to think about. Have you, in the Moodle, have you updated your preferred email address? And basically that's like we talked about before. If you get any notifications about responses to your forum posts, and you guys as a group have been on fire. You've certainly given me a workout, running around chasing you, trying to catch up with all of your posts. They've been fabulous, both in, you know, frequency, but also in depth and breadth of your posts. They're just brilliant. And in fact, for those of you who may know Jodie, she's still part of that Moodle, and she said, you know, she's been seeing a few of the forum posts come through, and she said I had a sneaky little read, and she's just so impressed by the quality coming out of those forum posts. So again, that whole idea of notifications from forum posts, at the moment it will be set up to your TAFE email address, which you may not check unless you change it to your preferred email address. If the notifications get too much and you want to stop them, you can always go to the forum and unsubscribe yourself from individual line items in the forum, or to take yourself off. If you need some help with that, we can talk about it one-on-one or another, or as a group. The other thing to check is about thinking about putting a forwarding rule on your TAFE email address. So if you don't check your TAFE email address very often, you might find that stuff goes there, not just from the Moodle, but because that's the email address that the system has for you. I think I'm pretty good at having all your other email addresses in my own email Outlook system, but one idea is to put a forwarding rule on your TAFE email address that will automatically send anything that goes to your TAFE email address to your preferred email address, and then in some ways you don't have to worry about it again, because you know anything that gets sent there will end up being redirected into your normal email address. Add it to the Gmail app on your phone. Wow, Nikki, that's a great idea. I didn't even know that was possible. So that's fantastic. So yeah, thinking about whatever works best for you of keeping things together. Great work on the forum post. Yes.
Hi. So for me, a good thing I've done is that I've consolidated all my academic emails, because every institution you go to gives you a new one, to forward to one independent one that is like in Outlook. That's not the one I use with you, just because a lot of like professional development stuff goes there. It's also an idea if you institution hopped, because checking like 12 different emails isn't possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do forget and stuff like that. So what a great idea. I've set up for myself, independent of everything else, a thing called Kath PD at Gmail. And that is, nobody gets that. I never get that to anybody else. But that is literally for myself an email address. When stuff comes through that I want to put in my own professional development plan and register, I forward it to that email address. It's almost like not quite a kitchen drawer, but it's almost like a filing cabinet to the side that I shove stuff in so that I can then go back through it. So that's a great idea about consolidating things and put that forwarding rule in. That's wonderful. So if anyone wants to do that, and if you're not sure how to, either put a post up on the forum and say, can someone talk to me about how to do a forwarding rule, or send me an email and we can talk about it. So, yeah.
Cass,
really.
to be honest, your forum activity today made me almost want to untick notifications.
Yes. I was thinking about that. I mean, because of course I subscribe to everything, and so just my own replies, I think, ended up being 43. So, and as I was doing it, I was thinking, I was worried or mindful for other people in the group. But then I thought, well, I can't pick and choose who I respond to. And the idea is that when I respond, people get it. So, yeah, you're really right. It's that balance, isn't it? It's hard to know which way to go. But again, a few things. If you already put your post up and you want to unsubscribe yourself, I guess the only bad thing will be if somebody makes a comment on your post, you won't necessarily be notified about that. or alternatively, as they come through, just have just delete them. Just delete them as they come through, or even scroll through and have a quick look over. So it is a bit of a balance, and it's yeah. Anybody else? Have you got any thoughts about best way to handle that, or Nikki, emails are the least of your worries? All right, so fair enough. If that's a bit of a thing that you can handle, ignore them. Great. Okay, cool. All right, so I guess the point of that is like one, it's an acknowledgement of, yeah, when that happens, I know it's going out if you're subscribed. Um, Acknowledgement of it, but yeah, ignore them, delete them, do with them what you will. So good call. All right, excellent. So, and as far as I know, in this group for these two subjects, everyone's been able to get the learner guides. Oh, Tracy, no, well, I tend to read them as well. That's great if you like to read them. That's really good. So, yeah, don't think that's weird at all. So yeah, that's great. So if there is a problem, oh, there goes Nick as well too. If there is a problem now or in the future for anyone with accessing the learner guides, the links via the Moodle, um, just GO2 as well. Just send me an email. Hopefully, those you should be able to access them via what was the other way that we said. But I am aware that there are still bugs in the Moodle. Still working with IT. It's a ongoing process. A tad frustrating at times, just to let you know. Anyway, let's talk about what we do have control over, and that's our assessments for one thing. So we're coming up to our assessments, which the 22nd will be, oh good, we've still got over a week, so that's excellent. But these two assessments, they kind of work together, A and B. And as you may see in your subject guide, I think it is, that in the subject guide it probably still says that they're both due on the 22nd, which of course is ridiculous, because how can you put up something and then also respond to somebody else putting up something if they're both due on the same date? Crazy, hey? So back at the very beginning, I got permission to change part B to a week later, but your subject guides have not been updated to reflect that. That's why I say pay attention to what's on the checklists that I put up in the assessment tab and what we keep talking about in these weekly sessions. So let's have a look at what is on part A coming up. Basically, there's a response to the three scenarios. And in a nutshell, it's about pick two tools for each of the three things that you want them to do. And then you just write that response saying, for this thing that I want them to do, these are the two tools I would suggest. For the next thing I want them to do, these are the two tools I would suggest. And then the third one. If you can post it, if possible, in a single post, so 1, 2, and 3 in there, in the actual forum that is set up so others can see it, that would be great. Now, I know that in the forums, there's an issue with formatting. So if you do it in a Word document and it looks fabulous with dot points and, you know, images and stuff like that, when you go to copy and paste it into the forum, then often those dot points and headings and images, they don't copy in very well. I understand that. I know that. I guess the reason I'm saying about is putting it into the text box of the forum is because your colleagues are going to have to come along and look at what you've written and then do a reflection. And it is just another step, and it can happen this way. But if you've got to go in, get the Word document, save it down, open it up, formulate your response, put up your comment, the reality is that that's just an extra step. So look, there's no right or wrong or compulsory thing here. But if you can try and do it in such a way that you can just copy and paste your text-based stuff into the forum, when people are there and they're scrolling through and think, I've got to find 2 people to respond to, look, it's just obviously easier is that as they're scrolling through, they can just see what you've written, see what you've written, see what you've written. I hope that makes sense. But again, if you really want to do yours in a Word document or a PDF and upload it, then that's cool as well. Like, I will definitely go and download it, and that's fine. So now your rubrics, your marked rubrics, will come after Part B, obviously, because Part B is a line in the rubrics, and it will be emailed to you personally, because I'm not going to upload your marked rubrics and result to a public forum where everybody could access it. That would be against your confidentiality kind of stuff. And so what's in the assessment criteria? Well, one is like, did you have the outline of the subject and the focus for each of the 3 things, and were the characteristics of that target group, were they identified? 2 is, did you have 2 tools? So that's, pretty much a give me, like, do 2 tools and boom, that's done. And then did you have a recommendation and justification of the tools that you selected? So again, it does say those words, word limit, I put in brackets 500 words minimum, for each scenario is observed, and that is a phrase that is in the first column of the rubrics, but there is no specific marks attached to 5% more, 20% less, blah, blah, blah. So watch the word limit, and as you are presenting Part A, remember that one of your colleagues will be looking at your Part A and they have to do their Part B. So a reflection on somebody else's stuff. So, in my opinion, keep it short and sharp. The 3 scenarios tend to go through like those 3 stages. What I might do here is this kind of a tool and that kind of a tool, and this is why. Next one, this one, that one, this is why. Next one, this one, that one, this is why. In brief. I'm hoping that makes sense. You guys might have had a look at this already. So we'll just have a look at what happens for Part B. So Part B, after you've put yours up, and again, if you put yours up in that particular forum before the due date, high five you, thank you. That's great, because you're giving your peers the opportunity then to be able to respond as well. So once you've put yours up, scroll on through, hope somebody else has put theirs up first. It's a bit sad for the first 2 people who put it up, because they'll scroll through and go, oh no, nobody else has put theirs up yet. But once we've got, 3 or 4 people up there, scroll on through other people's posts from Part A, pick 2 that you want to respond to, and put your reply in under their post. Importantly to remember is, again, look at your subject guide. This is not a critique as such of your colleague's post, so you're not acting as an assessor on your colleague's post. It's more an opportunity for you to provide some feedback, and that's where this criteria comes in. So you'll see on the rubrics, there's one line item for this feedback stuff, and it's a scale of, you know, was it terrible to was it really fabulous, about things like, you know, was it constructive and positive and thoughtful? Did you, you know, enhance it? Did you pose some extra questions? Did you give some other ideas or observations to promote further discussion? And remember, this part is only one line item in the rubrics overall. And again, I will send you your own completed marked rubrics after part B is done. So I'll be keeping a look and a monitoring on your own post and then the 2 other people that you posted on. If you want to be really kind to me, you could always send me an email and go, Kath, I want to let you know, not only have I done my post, but I've commented on Sally's and John's. Don't say Sally and John because we don't have a Sally and a John in the group. Give me real names, and then that would be really helpful for me to know, boom, you're ready, that stuff's there, and where to go to find your part B. I'm going to stop for a second. Does anyone have a comment or a question or something about this?
Hi, Kath. I just wanted to say thank you for being so quick with the feedback for our last assessment task. It's the fastest we've ever received feedback, and I'd like to thank you for it.
Thank you. I accept your thank you with a little bow and gratitude. My focus has always been over my career that people's assessments is my number one focus, and I know that from myself as a lifelong learner. When I've done stuff and I put it in and it takes, you know, tick tock, I put this in, mate. Personally, I would, if I could, I'd like to get it back to you within, you know, 12 hours, but a little bit unrealistic, and I've been a bit kinder to myself. But thank you for your thank you, and that it certainly is my intention going forward that you maybe when we're in May and we've got a lot of assessments due at a lot of times, but really if you're waiting more than a week for your assessment to come back, then I will be really disappointed with myself. So yeah, thank you. That's, yeah, it's quite touching actually. So yeah, it's nice to know that the effort is appreciated. So great. Wonderful. Oh, thanks, Nikki. Here. Yes, here. Thanks, Tracy. Cool. Well, let's hope that we're all still able to go here by the end of the semester. And I'm not completely and utterly you know, going too far behind. All right. So again, each week as the assessments roll up, I'm going to spend a bit of time so that we all know what we're doing. We're on the same page. We're feeling confident about what we're doing. So let's look at what we're going to talk about tonight. Oh, we're running 15 minutes behind, but that's okay. We'll catch up. This is pretty short, this session. So we're going to talk a little bit about digital technologies and LMSs, and in what they mean in the training environment, and a little bit of this, which is hilarious, and they're 2 words that I find difficult to pronounce even after 30 years, but synchronous and asynchronous delivery and technology. And I say it's hilarious as we get into it. I think some of you will understand why I'm shaking my head in a way and a little bit embarrassed to present some of this information. So basically, there's lots of components in a learning management system. And we often think of learning management systems as being really tied to online learning, and it's true. that bringing together lots of the components has been even more obvious and prolific with the explosion of online learning. But way back when, there always was some form of a learning management system, even if it was crazy enough, things like, education and stuff was in a library, or documentation was in a library, and things like tracking used to be done manually or be done, when there used to be a cloud-based tracking system for results or attendance and things like that. But of course, as more and more different types of courses go online, learning management systems have evolved to say, come to me, I will be your software that will house your courses and the documentation. We will track what your learners do and what they submit and how they're going. It'll be a full system for the purposes of education. We'll manage it all. And of course, this e-learning term arises out of that. But again, it's important to always think about what we talk about with e-learning and online learning. There are many aspects of that that are mirrored or that come from even our more traditional face-to-face, classroom-based, lockstep learning processes. But thinking about LMSs, so the most common types are Blackboard, Moodle, Desired to Learn, which I haven't had anything to do with. Canvas, I've had a bit to do with that, but not much. But Blackboard and Moodle, I've had quite a bit to do with. But again, I love this, through the forums, and just think, oh, geosynchronous orbit. Okay, I will try and think of that, Nikki. That seems like a much longer word to try and pronounce, but anyway. So through the forums, I learned of at least one more, Captivate Prime. And so whoever is the Captivate Prime person, you might want to jump in later on and talk about that. So something to think about, what LMSs have you experienced? And sometimes, particularly with in-house custom-built LMSs, it won't say what the platform or the backroom architecture is or where it comes from. But for example, you can have a Moodle-based platform that doesn't look like Moodle because it's been 100% customized and prettied up. So the interface that you see looks like something, and then it's only if you see what's happening in the backroom architecture, they go, oh yeah, no, it's a basic Moodle platform, but we've modified it, customized it, done things different. And again, like we say, aspects of a learning management system are used in all types of delivery, face-to-face, online, and then those great words, and then a combination of them all together. So this one, and this is how I remember the difference. It's a crazy little trick. I see the word AS, so as, and then I think to myself, as you are or as you were. So in your own time. And historically, most of online or distance learning was this. And distance learning always gives me a bit of a smile when I think about that, because I ended up doing one of my last subjects way back when, from my degree via distance for a variety of family reasons. And it truly was the old-fashioned distance learning model. I got massive packages sent out to me with printed booklets that I had to, read and then fill in and then post back. The postage was horrendous from memory. So it really was, you are far away. We will post you out your stuff. You will read it on your own. You will complete it. You'll post it back to us. And there was nothing. I think maybe there was on the first page, maybe there was here's a number you can call if you're having problems. And that was it. So I don't know. There's a bunch of, oh, there we go. Thanks, Nikki, for that. Maybe many of us have had that experience as well of distance learning. I think these days that model has pretty much gone the wayside. These days there's not a lot of posting out resources. Most of it is sent either via email or accessible online some way. However, I still have the experience sometimes with some TAFE students in a different program, not last year but the year before, where we were still posting out some booklets because their internet connection was so poor they couldn't reliably get online. Good point, Sarah. Like people who have got, a distance blind person, and not all textbooks are digital. Excellent, Sarah. That's a really, really good point. Something I didn't consider. So yeah, that's quite critical, I guess. And again, if we were a course developer and we were doing things, but also too, I guess, with a lot of stuff online now, a lot of them have the text to voice functionality, so it would be more spoken word, I guess, or something. So, but you're right, it's a lot of things to bear in mind. And again, like I said, with internet access, that can be an issue in some parts as well, or lots of parts. So that's a thought. But basically the idea is that it's in your own time. It relies on these kinds of media, and it is important, even with a fully online and fully interactive program. It's important because not all members can get together at the same time, as we know here, and that's why it's important to get the recordings up to a place that people can easily access as soon as possible. And the other thing about it is that it actually enables people to plan their own schedules. So if they've got the learning, work and life kind of balance thing happening, they can take control of, I can do this at this time, and at this time I can do something different. But it's a key characteristic in all flexible e-learning, or flexible learning really. So even in face-to-face learning, you'll find that most institutions have some form of an online platform where at the very least learning resources are uploaded that can be downloaded at the participants' own time. But our next one is this in real time, and interaction is instant. This is why I was smiling before, because it is these things like video conferencing, like right now, chat rooms, webinars and messaging. Why am I grimacing when I say that? Is because despite my putting my hand up to IT on a every second or third day, our messaging system in Moodle is still not working. Why? It's beyond me. I don't understand why that's such a hard thing to fix, but it is what it is. So in amongst that and some other issues that we've been having with the Moodle, as somebody said to me in an email, online stuff is great when the technology works. When it doesn't work, it's frustrating at best. And it can actually be, it can interrupt the learning process or the experience at worst. So that's just something to be aware of. But the bottom line is, when it's good and we get some interactions happening and stuff like that, it can help duplicate in some way some of that face-to-face interactive, community-based, peer support type activities that really do help build a sense of team, build a sense of community, and that also that learning from each other and with each other is such a critical aspect for human natures, for human beings. By nature, we are, you know, social animals, most of us, and that being able to interact with each other is a key part of that. I guess that's why many of you in this group last term made your own WhatsApp group or something, because obviously you felt that need for connection, that need for support, that need to help each other. So you sought out a way to do that, which is great. Keep that going if you want to. And I guess that, you know, as the world becomes increasingly more high tech, people do tend to crave some kind of a high touch, crave more of a personal touch, that should say, sorry about that, crave a personal touch. And that's particularly evident with adults in adult education. And normally in any kind of program, these days they have some kind of real-time, real interaction activity included, be it a webinar or, you know, maybe even an online chat where people can come in and be online instantly, because that is really the way that relationships and that are built in the real time, in the real world. So thinking about some considerations, and again, there's lots more information and examples and stuff in your learner guides. Here I'm just trying to touch base on some of the key points. But the thing I love about this visual is that, you know, face-to-face, and we're not knocking face-to-face at all, like face-to-face has certainly got its place, it's got a really valuable space in the education world, and there are some things that have to be done face-to-face. There's just no other way really around them. But the reality is that, I think we've said this a few in the forum posts, it feels like everything is so much faster. And I guess for some of you, maybe think about sitting where you are now. If you had to have got home, got changed, get in the car, drive somewhere, wherever that would be, what impact that might have on your decision to continue your studies or to undertake the course. Not to mention, from an organisational point of view, getting enough people within drivable distance to come to one place is getting more and more difficult. So there are financial implications for organisations as well with that kind of face-to-face model. So, you know, there is stuff that's around there. The virtual teaching world, it's got, you know, these other bits. But this is where I think the real magic happens. There is so many activities or focuses or concepts that are important and can be used between both the face-to-face and the virtual teaching. And if you are teaching online, if you're using that digital world to present information and to do things, to try and gather in as many of these things as possible is a real key factor. That's what builds that sense of learning community and that sense of people not being isolated or left on their own. Just another visual from the learner guide that kind of also reflects the same concept. You know, round the sides, you've kind of got those same factors or stages or aspects really. So yes, we do the same stuff, whether it's face-to-face or digital, but the way it happens might be slightly different. But this stuff in the middle is the things that we want to emphasise as facilitators or as instructional designers. We want to try and encourage as much of that interactive, collective activities as possible. So, look, these are just the top 10 and they come out of your learner guide. There's probably a lot of others as well, but some things to consider. So if you were charged with, wow, pick a learning management system for us and we're going to put everybody on it and it's all going to be your responsibility to see how it comes out, there's some considerations that, you might take. But also too, I think it was in one of the forum posts, somebody from this group said something about, wow, this is just, there's so many different things to think about. One idea is to just outsource it, say, wow, you come in expert and you pick it and you design it and you do it. And that is a very valid option in some situations. And then they also said, option B is for me to go with what I know. And so now, thanks to this course, I know a bit of Moodle, so I guess I'd go with that. And again, that's a very valid decision-making process, particularly if you were, for example, working with a small RTO, and they said, can you just help us get something online? It's always a bit of a red flag when RTOs say that, something online, but again, everybody has to start somewhere. So something to think about. So that's what we've talked about tonight, and I'm a bit mindful of the time and I want to leave some time for chatting and for questions and answers. Our forum starters, which there's already some great posts on there. If you haven't seen them, go and have a look. And even if you put your own up and haven't seen the others and you've got time, pop back and have a look at other people's ones. Feel free to interact with each other and add responses and stuff as well. So the idea is what LNMs, do you know of? What do you think about them? How good are they? And I'll just say something sort of as a bit of an aside. I'm in conversation with IT about the fact that on our forum posts, we should be able to have the feature where we could even just do a bit like Facebook, but a thumbs up and, a smiley face and stuff, just as a way of giving immediate micro bites of feedback of going, hey, I've seen this. Yeah, like this, interesting. And so that's a discussion IT and I are having on an ongoing basis. And I think that's important. That would be important for me as the facilitator, while I do like to put in good responses to everybody's posts moving forward. It'd be great for me to be able to indicate, hey, seen it, thought it was great, even have a laughing emoji, thought it was funny, to be able to enhance that, again, interaction. Because again, I know for you guys, you don't have time to make a comment on each of your colleagues' posts. So please know when you put your own post up, I will get to put a comment in myself, but I'm sure that your colleagues are looking and learning from your posts. So even though there's not those thumbs up emojis and that sort of stuff, please know that your sharing is valued and of value. And then for week 4, the 3 different types of tools for different things. And remember, you do not have to respond to every single week forum discussion starter. The objective is respond to those that interest you or that challenge you. And by the end of the semester, for maximum marks, if there's 5 posts you've done that have references and that are well written, you'll get maximum marks. So I think some people are already a good 4 posts for one subject or something. So pick what you want to do, spend your time how you want to spend it and what's, the most appropriate. Okay, well, we're coming close to the end. Next week, we're going to go back to developing effective assessments. On that point, hopefully you all got the email I sent out to you, which was a bit of a follow-up from, I think it might have been Jessie, but maybe it was somebody else who said, hey, I like this thing that we did last week of highlighting and colour coding and looking at a unit of competency and what do we need to put in an assessment tool. But they said, but what does it look like at the end? You know, what's the stuff I would give to a client? And so I went and sourced a series of documents, assessment tools that are student facing, the same assessment tools that are assessor facing, and other kind of related documents, and I zipped them and emailed them out. So one, I hope they were helpful. Two, I hope they did not overwhelm you when you unloaded the zip. I hope it didn't make you go, what? This is too much. This is too much, Kath. It's too much. I hope it was of value, and particularly maybe might be of value moving forward with the developing effective assessment, funny enough, when you've got to develop some tools. But we can talk about that again next week. So, boom. What a busy night. What a good night, maybe. Topics that we've covered, forum starters, and then what's next. As always, thank you for your time, and I will see you around the forums during the week and, of course, online next week. For the moment, I'm going to pop this down. I'm going to throw open the floor. We're still being recorded, but when and if people want, we will, when and if people want, we'll stop the recording so it can save down, and then we can just have a chat. Gio, I'm pleased that it was helpful and handy to have on file. Maybe it was you who even asked about it in the last session, so that's good. So the floor's open for anybody who'd like to say anything that will be recorded in the recording part of this session. Sweet. Well, okay, thanks for that. I'm just going to say a sign off to people who might be watching this at a later date. I do know that for a number of people, work commitments are really impinging on their ability to be here, and we completely understand that. I'm hopeful that when you watch the recording, you get a feeling like you were here, but please know we did miss you as well. As always, any questions, email or text me. Always happy to do a one-on-one and talk through stuff, whatever that stuff is. I'm going to stop the recording now. So thank you again for your time, and thank you even for your time for watching this after tonight. And I'll see you next week.